I'm in my element. Back in my element. I'm in my. This is easy as a layup. I don't show if you don't pay up. Long nights had to stay up. Put in hours while you later. I can sit around and wait up. I'm gonna have to see you later. Giving tips like a waiter. Either tell them or you fade them. I'm in my element. Back in my element. I'm in my element. Back in.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. Hope everybody is doing well today. On this beautiful Tuesday, as always, let's turn off all distractions, grab a pen and paper, let's take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. All right. And as always, we want to make sure we start our day off by taking massive action. That action stands for accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome, centering yourself, body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading, trusting your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successfully materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So let's get to it, man. We got a lot to cover. The market moving yesterday, some interesting things going on around the world. So if everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we will get to work. Perfect. Appreciate it. All right. So let's uh we'll go over to trading economics first, and then we'll do some bouncing around a little bit. So let's do this. All right. So we'll start off by stuff this morning, then we'll walk back to yesterday. But German factory orders rebound strongly. Factory orders in Germany, the largest member in the ECB, in Europe, rose by 3.9% month over month in June, above market forecast of 0.8, and a solid turnaround from the revised 1.7 fall in May. It was the first growth since last December, boosted by robust orders for aircraft, ships, trains, and in the automotive industry. That part intrigues me a little bit. Aircraft, ships, not necessarily the trains part, but could be the trains as well. Just from a geopolitical potential war preparation scenario, just how my mind works and how my mind sees some of these numbers. So that's interesting to me. But factory orders rebound strongly. We also had Australia. The Reserve Bank of Australia kept its cash rate unchanged at 4.35% during its August meeting, retaining borrowing costs for the sixth straight gathering and matching the market estimate. That said, the central bank remained worried as inflation is still above the 2 to 3% target range before approaching the midpoint of 2026. The board reiterated the need to stay vigilant to upside inflation risk while not ruling anything in or out, as it will rely on data. It also stated that the policy will be sufficiently restrictive until inflation moves toward the goal. Simultaneously, the board saw substantial uncertainty around the economic outlook, evidenced by slow GDP growth, rising jobless rates, and intense pressure on many businesses. The RBA added it will pay close attention to the global economy and financial markets, trends in domestic demand, and the outlook for inflation and the labor market. The committee also maintained its rate for exchange settlement balance at 4.25%. So they got a lot of things that they're keeping their eyes on, right? But Benny talked about this. You got um, slowing GDP growth, a rising jobless rate, right? And we saw the impact of some of these concerns in the market yesterday, with the concern or fear of a recession looming, right? Um, among other things. But that's something definitely we'll keep our eyes peeled on. Um, Euro area retail sales fell 0.3% month over month in June, more than a market expectation of 0.1. Um, mm, 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 mm. Yeah. So retail sales down in the Eurozone. Then we have Brent crude futures rose to around 76.4 per barrel on Tuesday after declining for three consecutive sessions, supported by lingering supply risks from rising tensions in the Middle East. Fears of a regional war heightened as Israel braced for potential attacks following Iran's threat of retaliation in the wake of the recent killings of senior Hezbollah commander in Lebanon and Hamas top political leader in Iran. Crude prices also gained support from halted production in Libya's largest oil field, Shahar, due to anti-government protests and security issues. Meanwhile, concerns over potential recession in the U.S., the world's top oil consumer, are putting downward pressure on oil prices amid a weak jobs report and disappointing ISM manufacturing PMI. However, fears eased somewhat after a positive U.S. ISM services report on Monday. Okay. But this part here, regional fears of a regional war, um, things are ticking up in the Middle East and they're not necessarily being talked about, um, not being talked about broadly or loudly. Um, Israel killed two leaders, um, two Iranian leaders, or Hamas leaders, and they are not happy. They are not happy. And they said it's their right to inflict pain at this point. Um, Multiple countries are coming in trying to calm them down. Um, but they're at a point now where I don't know if they're going to be able to calm them down. So this fight continues to escalate, um, and it's not being talked about. Other things are taking precedence over this conversation, and it's something that's definitely going to impact oil, along with other things. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes on it to just better understand, continue to better understand what's happening there and how that could spread um, slowly to other areas. The world doesn't want it to happen, um, but we're hitting some inflection points. So we'll keep our eyes peeled there, on Israel and Hamas. That's it for trading economics. Let's go over to the calendar. Um, Here's PMI numbers out of the Eurozone yesterday. A little bit mixed. Um, some came in flat, some came in below, a couple came in just above. Today we got a bank. We also had a bank holiday yesterday in Canada. Here's the ISM services number came in a little bit at expectation. The final services PMI came in a little bit below. Average cash earnings for Japan, 4.5. right? We're looking to see when we're going to start seeing this number increase. And it increased drastically, all right, 4.5%. Um, so that lends to some of those wage increases starting to filter into and impact the households. So that is news for the Bank of Japan and news for the yen, as we'll likely continue to see strengthening there. Um, Investors, it was an interview with a representative from Chase, and he said the yen is still one of the most undervalued currencies across the globe. Um, Studies that they've done from a technical perspective, when they see moves like they've seen out of the yen over the past few weeks, um, it's something that they don't know that the market recovers from. Um, so we could see just continuations in the yen strength. So we'll continue to watch that there. Um, there's a cash rate for Australia came in late last night, held there. Unemployment rate for the Swissy came in at expectation today. We got trade balance numbers for Canada and the United States. And we got tonight employment change quarter over quarter and the unemployment rate coming out of New Zealand expected to tick up by 0.4%. We'll see if that falls in line with expectations. And then tomorrow, Germany trade balance, IVPMI for Canada, oil inventories, Bank of Canada meeting minutes, BOJ meeting minutes, BOJ current accounts, and then late tomorrow night, Governor Bullock speaks, and then you have inflation expectations for New Zealand. All right, so that'll get us through midweek. We also have preliminary elections, primary elections in the U.S. happening today as well. So, tons of interesting things going on across the globe. Makes for interesting trading. All right. Benny, good morning, bro.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
I am doing well, man. How about yourself?
Man, doing great. Busy, 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 busy.
Man,
But
you definitely are, bro.
yeah, it's reporting time for the for the university. So as it relates to our community colleges, so just ton of leg work, but nearing the end of it. So had a deadline yesterday that I needed to meet on one huge part of it, and continue to work on the rest. But other than that, man, it keep my eyes on this market. It's been crazy, right?
It has been, man. Talk to me about your thoughts on some of the stuff, man.
You had mentioned Chase, and I was looking at the headline on the article this morning that they only think that the unwinding of the yen carry trade is only half over,
Only half
right?
over, yeah.
Only half over. So you're looking at continued, strength in the yen. So the whole idea of a carry trade, everybody, is to how I said is to exploit, right? I guess that's a good term to use, right? The difference between borrowing costs between the Japanese yen. So think about it. The yen has been low, right, for a very long time in regards to the borrowing costs because they had to come out of negative interest rates and they've been the major lagger, right? All these other central banks have, accelerated interest rates at a really fast pace, right, to combat inflation. But the yen was the lagger, right, moving from negative interest rates to zero. And now we see what they're doing now, right, at their last meeting, which everybody was expecting, and then cutting bond purchases half or whatever. Um, so when you think about it, if the whole idea of a carry trade is to split the difference between, in this case, the low borrowing cost of the yen and say higher returns offered by, investments in other currencies or assets. So other currencies that you may have a higher yield, like the dollar, right? The dollar yen carry trade because the interest rate on the dollar, right, has been high because of what the Fed has been doing to combat inflation, or other assets like stocks. So we're going to borrow that yen and then we're going to invest in those higher assets. So, for example, if this makes sense, if the yen, let me think of, if the yen has an interest rate of say 0.1%, okay, follow me now, 0.1%, and um, investments in an asset could yield you 5%, right? So if you think about it, if the interest rate is 0.1%, the borrowing cost is 0.1%, and I can invest in an asset that's getting me 5%, then you could potentially earn a net return of that would be 4.9%. Yeah, minus any transaction. Yeah, I'm right on that. Yeah,
Yep.
4.9%. Right? I'm doing this in my head. Okay, appreciate it, man. And I'm getting old. I'm 45 now. So uh minus any transaction cost or risk. So uh when you look at the changes now that the Bank of Japan, you know, is making, it makes sense, right? So for that carry trade to unwind, because now they're starting to do some things that's going to strengthen the yen and makes the yen a little bit more expensive, right? So when you talk about carry trades, you talk about the big boys. Even though we could do that, right? You could do that as a trader, get involved as a carry trade at a smaller level, right? But it often involves um, a lot of leverage, right? Where investors can borrow large, sums relative to their equity, and then that really kind of like we do at a smaller scale, but then at a large scale. So they use large leverage to go into these moves because it's going to amplify, or multiply their returns, right? Even though it could be riskier, right? It increases risk anytime you're using leverage. So that's why you see the unwinding now of that carry trade, because when you come out of that carry trade, right, if you borrow yen, everything you're converting, it's all has to do with the conversion. So when you come out of that carry trade, what do you have to do? If you borrow the yen to do it, you're going to buy that yen back, right? So, Dan says, so the yen is tired of tired of people getting pretty much. So that's why you see that yen strengthening is forcing a major correction in the markets, right? So that's the importance, of the Japanese yen across all your asset classes. Like, what was it yesterday, right? They had to put the brakes on, right? On the Nikkei because it dropped so much within a single day.
Man, yep.
They had to what do they call it? They call that see what they
I
call that.
forget the technical
Where
term
they
for
where,
it.
where they pause it or whatever.
Yeah, I
I
forget
don't
the
know. It's
technical
not coming to
term.
me right now. But yeah, like first they usually typically they do it in a series. Like they'll pause markets if it's too much of a sell off. They'll pause it for like 15 minutes, like pause the markets. Then they'll do it again, and then if it decreases by so much in a single day, I don't know. I can't remember what the number is. I don't want to speculate. Then they'll just stop trading for the day. You know, when a sell off occurs too fast. So that's why that Ryan, all this research and things that he does on the yen, and why we follow it so closely, is because it can have a large, major impact on the market, which we are now seeing. So that's just a little tidbit on when you're reading these articles and you keep hearing the unwinding of the carry trade. That's what they're talking about. So that's it, man.
Appreciate that breakdown, bro. Appreciate that. Um, yeah, that makes for an interesting scenario. Makes for an interesting scenario. So, um, I'm interested to see when he says it's only 50% done, like how far does that go? Because it makes it interesting because of that in combination with everything else, right? With um the recession fears, the geopolitical tension, and with all of that, right? You got your VIX at 33, right? You got your VIX at
Yeah,
33.
it jumped as high as
Um,
50 at one point, didn't it?
it did. It did. Like, and I had taken my eye off the VIX like the week before last, but it had started to tick up previously, and then you just see it just go wild the first few days, right? Um, so it's been interesting to see how all of this comes together, uh, and how each piece plays a role in the overall kind of sentiment and overall movements in the market, man. It's very, very interesting to see where we are from a global perspective. Um,
For sure. This is I guess I'd say part of I'm gonna take credit. Part of it is really because I've been so busy, but I'm gonna give myself credit because I have literally sat back and really just watched it play out. And I know at
Same.
times yeah, I know that times in the past I would be eager because I see all this price action going on and this trade going hard in one direction. And I'm just like, well, if I wasn't in it, like some of you are in that S&P short, I'm like, congratulations, right? But I missed that move and I've just been kind of just sitting letting it all play out. And that's a lot for me to let that occur. But I will say I'm kind of proud that I've just kind of set back, and not try to get involved because of FOMO, and missing out on potential moves. But I'm gonna let it just steady itself.
Yeah, yeah. Same here, man. Excuse me. It's definitely been fascinating to watch. Definitely been fascinating to watch. Team, do you guys have any questions from a fundamental perspective? Or anything that you guys have seen that caught your eye, you got questions about it, you want to put on the table?
No.
Nope. All right. Cool. So let's dive into these charts, man. DXY. Let's go back to the daily here because we sharp move down and then the recovery, right? Um, so daily we took out that A. So I'm gonna flip these over, run them down, just shy of the D extension, just shy of that one. What's that? 101 support level there. So we'll see what happens here on this recovery of the dollar. We might come back to around 103 retest and see if we get another push to the downside. Um, so we'll see how things move. Yeah, and that just speaks to the strength of a lot of the moves that have been happening recently. Um, they've just been really explosive, strong moves in a direction, right? And most of them led by fundamentals that have really just pushed the market in a direction. So, um, yeah, the volatility and the momentum is high in some of these directions. So we we haven't seen some of those on a lot of those pairs. So we'll see how things continue to move. But that's when the patience comes in, right? And having your rules, being very, very specific in your rules, right? If it doesn't meet your rules, and you don't trade it, right? And you just sit and observe it and watch and see what happens and journal and keep it moving, right? So that's where that really comes into play. So then we're on the daily. We come down to the 4, and I'll run this fib to the downside here. Boom. There's your 80-20 on the 4. Just missed the D extension. Strong reversal to the upside. And see how deep this move comes here, right? As we're pushing back previous support level, come back and retest that level, potentially push a little bit deeper there. So dollar on the reversal. Um, so we'll see how deep that moves. Okay. That's the DXY. I want I want to take a look at some of those Aussie pairs, but before I do that, this dollar yen got a nice reversal, right? Well, first off, right, move down has been sick, right? That 80-20 played out in a beautiful way, even though it took its time. Now we're at a TP2 level, and we got some indecision here. So we'll see how the market moves. Let's drop this on. No, not that. We'll see how things move, but we're sitting just like the rest at low prices, overextended at zero pretty much, oversold. Boom, boom. Save that. There we go. All right. So oversold, but we know the yen has a lot of strength. We know that we're in a risk-off environment. Um, we know there are a lot of things happening around the world. We know that there's talks of rate cuts, but there's also fears of a global recession. So got a lot happening. So I want to see what happens here and see if we're able to settle in inside this AB boundary. Also got a previous support level here as well. See if we're able to settle in this area and then potentially at least give us a retracement, seeing as those carry trades aren't done, seeing as there's talks of another rate hike in October for the yen, right? We'll definitely continue to see the strength of the yen, but can we get a retracement of some sort to give us a high price? That's what I've been sitting waiting on these yen plays, is retracements to then be able to get short, add to those types of scenarios. So that's on the daily. You come down to the 4, and there's your fresh AB boundary there, right? Looking for a retracement. If we come back to this level, 149, right? Just shy of that 61.8 retracement on the 4, that could give us an opportunity, right? To get in this to the short side and meet our rules, special stop outside the A, and then play this to the downside. We do have a stochastic in the sell zone on the 4. So we'll see how deep that retracement is able to get. But if we get to these high prices, we could look for opportunities to get short there. Okay, so that's on the 4. We'll watch and see how this one develops, but we want to wait until we get there. Down on the 1, here's our retracement happening. Stochastic pushing down into the buy zone, right? You got the mix of the stochastic RSI on the different time frames. So looking for retracement, looking for the higher time frames to kind of take over a little bit here and push us back, like I said, at least to that 149 area. And then we'll look for some, then I'll be looking for some short opportunities on this dollar yen. Okay, so there we are there. Questions on the dollar yen?
Nope.
All right, cool deal. Let's, I'll take a look at those indices as well in a little bit. This Aussie CAD, the 80-20 scenario played out beautifully. 618 retracement, bang, strong reaction off the level, but we still got a stochastic in the buy zone here, right? So we could see maybe a retracement come. There's also talks of Bank of Canada. I don't know if you saw this one, Benny, but Bank of Canada potentially cutting rates faster than anticipated, due to some of the changes happening in the United States.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
something that's being talked about in the background as well. I didn't have a chance to read the full article, just saw the headline on it, but that's something that caught my eye as interesting that's being talked about. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But it'll also be interesting to see, because we're in a risk-off scenario, risk-off environment, how the Aussie is affected by that. So we shall see. But strong move to the downside on this Aussie CAD. 80-20 on the daily played out beautifully. Now we're looking to see. We also broke the cloud on the daily, right? So that means we broke some strong levels. So my thought is, do we get a pullback and then a continuation down? Do we get that type of action there? Maybe that retracement doesn't come as deep. We'll have to wait to see there. But do we get a pullback of some sort and then a continuation to the downside? As we come down to the 4, right, there's your 80-20 on the 4. Also 618 TP2 level. Beautiful move. I don't know if anybody sat in that to the downside, but it was a beautiful play to the downside. Now we wait and see what transpires from here, right? But be it on the 4 or the 1, I was 382 pips to the downside, right? A month's worth of work. So we'll watch and see how things develop there. Down on the 1, you got a 618 retracement. So we'll see what happens here. Also trying to break the cloud. You move sideways through it. We're pulling back. See if this support holds and see if we get another drive to the upside. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for there on this Aussie CAD. Maybe we'll pull back a little bit deeper, get down into this 50% 618 range, but pull back and then looking for a potential another drive to the upside, maybe, and then get short there. So that's where we are on the Aussie CAD. Beautiful move. Now we're waiting to see what happens from there. Okay. Questions here on the Aussie CAD?
It moved a lot yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, it did. It did. Tons of movement to the upside. And it's interesting because you had, and I think part of what kind of stalled the oil, stalled the Canadian dollar a little bit, and kind of stalled some of this here is you had all these countries step in from to prevent this regional war. There's like 3 or 4 countries that stepped in, and they're trying to talk each side down, which brought a little ease to some of the movements to the downside. So it'll be interesting to see how things continue to evolve. And then you had the markets also start to take back some of the losses as well. That it had, right, late in the evening. So it will be interesting to see how things continue to move. It will. All right. All right. So. All right, cool deal. But also that rate statement last night that also it was around midnight. So with them being data dependent holding rates, right? Started that retracement action there coming back down. So you do also have a sub fib 80-20 here that's moving back down to the downside. So something also to watch, just to put us in position potentially for that potential next move to the upside. Aussie Swiss, right? We know we're continuing to run down, right? With the unwinding of carry trades, the Swissy being one of them, just shy of that all-time low, right? Just shy of that all-time low. We hit that D extension on that fib to the downside. So ultimately looking for continued moves to the downside here. Okay. Looking for continued moves to the downside. Been super sharp, right? are we able to get a retracement of some sort, right? We may not break back above this zone here, and we'll look at it on the 1 hour time frame. We may not be able to get back above this area, but just a full pullback and retest to that area to then continue to the downside. We also have a stochastic in the buy zone here as well. Okay. So we'll see what happens there. Coming down to the 1, I mean to the 4. What I just do? There we go. So down on the 4, here's your AB boundary. And you see we're pulling back just shy of that 50% level, right? I want to see if we get one more drive up here to fully retest this zone. And that'll put us close to that 618 retracement level to look for short opportunities here. Okay. Yeah, we might pull back a little bit here, but can we get one more push to the upside to get there, right? And that'll kind of fulfill that ABCD wave on the retracement, right? Not able to pull it in just yet, but something like this, are we able to fulfill this ABCD wave there and then see if we can get short? So watching that from that perspective, as we come down to the 1, right? You already got your deep retracement. One more push will take that A out, right? Which I'm okay with. So looking for 10, depending on what happens here on this retracement, do we get an 80-20 here on the 1 with another drive up first before that retracement comes? Okay, so we'll watch and see how this actually moves, but I'd love to see this action, and then that'll give us that move back down. So that's what I'm watching there, potential 80-20 development, and taking out this A there to leave us in this scenario.
All right, can I see a daily fib again, please?
Yeah. Just hit a D extension.
Yeah, my daily shows 80.
You got a larger. Where are you running it from? This high? Where'd you start your fib from, done it?
My fib, I know my capital fib is at 0.72582.
0.72582. Yeah, I'm not sure how you have that. Let me run these again. Maybe you came off of this one. I don't know. 0.72582 is here in this area. But that is
so choppy in there.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure there because that one dies there. And then we restart here. I'm not sure on that one. Not sure on that
All right, I'll go back and rerun it.
one. Okay. Cool deal. All right. So what's that? Aussie yen. Same story. Been crazy, right? didn't get to that D extension that we're looking for. It came just short, and then just complete breakdown. Okay, complete breakdown. So if we take the advice from Chase, we may not get back up to where the breakout started from, right? We might just continue to see shallow retracements on these yens and continuations to the downside. Okay. So we'll look for that and see if we are able to get at least something back to the upside to give us an opportunity to get back short there. Okay. So that's on the daily. Crazy, crazy, crazy move there. Down on your 4, right? To Ann's point, right? Shallow retracements, continuations, right? And that just speaks to the strength in the move, right? Tons of sellers in the market pushing the market to the downside. Thought I had a fib on this, but I don't. Tons of sellers in the market pushing the market to the downside, all right? And so you just see that continued strength there. So that's ultimately what we'll look to see is just those continued moves similar to that. There's your retracement there, right? Can we get one more drive to the upside to get us into the 618 range to meet our rules, right? To then look short. Since we know, right? We have the idea that carry trades will continue. We're strong on the risk off side of things. You got sell-offs everywhere. Can we get price to push back up here and recover a little bit and give us that opportunity? Okay, so this is another one where we're looking at price coming back in this range. Okay, so that's on the 4. Down on your 1. That got taken out. Okay. Similar to some of the other odds, you already got a deep retracement here on the 1. You got a Kumo twist on the cloud. Or do we get another push to the upside to take that A out? All right, so we'll watch to see. If not, right, if you're just trading off the 1, right, this could be a nice setup. This is an 80-20 on the sub fib, right? But that would have been a good risk to reward scenario there, right? Looking to get short, even if it was just a retracement. But I'd like to see this one push a bit higher. I may not get what I want, but that's where we sit on this Aussie yen. Okay, so I'm looking to see if we get one more push to the upside, and then more continuation down. So that's where we are. Okay. Questions on the Aussie yen?
Nope.
Not bad, everybody. There you go. All right. Cool deal. Aussie, New Zealand. And this one will always be interesting as it's kind of a forever range. But nice deep retracement. Are we able to see this one start moving back to the upside? Stochastic in the buy zone here, right? Do we see this turnover and continue to push long? All right, there's some interesting back and forth out of New Zealand. So I believe they have a rate statement from next week. Yeah, next week. And investors are betting that they also cut rates next week, the RBNZ. As markets globally ramp up bets on imminent monetary policy easing. So That's the thought right now from investors, is that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand will cut rates next week. So, do we see this continue moving to the upside here, right? Is this a retracement for us to continue moving long? So we'll watch this as well, see if that falls in line with that narrative, right? This could be one of the Aussies that moves to the upside a little bit differently here. Okay. So see if we get that action, that C to D move to the matching B extension. Down on your 4, right? Just got a ton of back and forth. Don't have an active fib right now. Took out the A. Let's see if we can get price to settle in here, pull back, and then kind of get range bound a little bit, right? And this one is, like I said, it's always interesting because you have, right, same trade partners, same area, right? So, but the 80-20s play out beautifully. So we're watching to see what happens here. Okay. And so nothing on the 4, down on the 1. Broke back above that level, pulling back now. Nice break of the cloud here. Now we're pulling back to retest the cloud, right? So looking at those swing lows, do we get another bullish candle to close tomorrow, right? Or candle to close above this low to give us a daily swing low to be in line with that cloud break on the 1. So do we get some of that additional confirmation on the lower time frames? We got the cloud break, trend line break. We're pulling back. Do we stay above the low here? Do we stay above that low, right, and just give a nice pullback and give us an opportunity to get long? Okay, so keep our eyes on that one as well for a potential long move like that. Questions on the Aussie yen? I mean, Aussie New Zealand. No. Okay. And then the Aussie dollar. Continuing this trek down, right? We talked about being short on this for quite some time, and it's moving, right? So my only question is here, just like the others, is do we get a pullback and then a continuation, right? Stochastic pushing out of the buy zone. So do we get a retracement of any sort and give us an opportunity to get back short, right? For those that may not be, but we're moving to the downside, okay? This fib probably won't pop in, but that's your fib there, and we'll likely push up and break that. Let's see if we get a push to the upside, take out that A, and give us a little bit of a higher price here. May not fully break the cloud, but any retracement we can get, we can look for some short opportunities on this. And here you are on your 1. That's already turning over, right? We'll watch to see what happens here as it slides to the cloud. But strong recovery, pulling back, see if we get one more leg up to retest 65, 876, and then see if we get an opportunity to get short there. Okay, so that's the Aussie dollar questions here. I just wanted to go through those. We had that cash rate and want to see how price is moving with that decision and how it's kind of setting us up there. Okay. So let's take a look at these indices we'll wrap it up. Benny mentioned, a lot of folks were short already. We're short off already off the highs here, and this is just a continuation. Boom. We got Kumo twist happening on the daily. We haven't quite broken the cloud just yet, but strong bearish action. And so on these, my question is also, do we get a pullback and a continuation, right? And do we start this unwinding, if you will, um, of these moves that have been wild, right? So do we get pullbacks and continuations? Short recovery and then moves down. Coming to the 4. And there's your move to the downside. So looking at this move here. And do we get price to push into our sweet spot and give us an opportunity to get short? Okay. So that's what I'm waiting on there. We definitely could see things continue moving down in the short term and potentially even the long term. Okay. We'll see what 4,900 looks like again. So that's on the 4. Down on your 1. There we go. There's your retracement on the. So on these, just watching to see, right, what the retracement looks like overall, and really looking at them from a daily and a 4-hour perspective, and see if we're able to get some higher prices to then get short. Okay, so that's the S&P 500. NASDAQ. Similar action, right? That 80-20 there played out beautifully, 50% to the downside. I apologize for these charts not being up to date. I don't trade these a ton anymore. I need to. I definitely should get back to trading them, but I don't. I don't. So we'll update this. And you see here on the daily, you got a beautiful cloud break. You got your Kumo twist. So we're moving to the downside here, right? And got some confirmation of that. And so with that break on the daily, right, that gives me even more confidence to really be looking for a pullback and some shorts to continue, right? You continue to the downside. We already hit that D extension there. So definitely looking for some continuation. We'll see what this cluster looks like here around 16,000, but definitely some more short opportunities coming here, I believe. Here on the 4, man, that was nice. 618 retracement in line with previous support. Breakdown. Anybody short on the NASDAQ? They're definitely
Waiting
fast
for it
paced.
to pull back up
Waiting for the pullback. Yeah.
around on the 4-hour, like 18.6 something. We'll see if it gets there, but
Okay.
pull up a little bit more.
Around this 618, 786
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
Continuation.
Yeah. I follow you on that. Do we have we got support there also. That makes sense. I'll take that out. right? So we got support here. Pull back into that range, maybe a little bit deeper, but yeah, no, I like that. I like that. Definitely would be a nice opportunity, right? Broke the cloud on the daily, pull back, retest the cloud, retest support, maybe a little deeper, and then short opportunities. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. So let's watch that there. You'll see talks of a recovery after in the aftermath, and then it'll be another shocking move to the downside if it happens. Okay. To the one. Similar story. That's the fib that I drew in there from the 4, stochastic in the buy zone, right? And so that looked like a continuation to the upside. Yeah. So that's just above that level, but puts us in that between that 618 and 786 retracement off that 4-hour fib, and matching the extension here on the 1. So let's do this. I'm going to take this out. I'm just going to watch these to the upside, right? 18,758. So somewhere in this range, we'll see if price settles in. We'll watch that. Okay. Questions on the NASDAQ? I'm with you, Donette. I'm waiting on that pullback to that range.
No.
No. All right. All right, cool.
Go back on the 4-hour, man. At a 61.8, that would have made you a millionaire, that thing.
Yeah, a lot of these, man. A lot of these, right? That was a beautiful move. Beautiful move to the zone. Right? Beautiful move to the zone. So that's what we do, right? So now look for the same thing. That's what I'm looking for. It's just the same action to occur. 618 retracement, and we'll look for a continuation. Right. These are the ones that I'm just looking to trade with the trend here. Right. Trade with the trend. Deep retracement opportunity down. So fun times. Fun times. Um mm, 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 mm.
Pay attention to this US data, close attention to it, everybody. Because it, you know, we know we've got the unwinding of the carry trade. We know we've got, some shaky reports coming from earnings last week from major companies, but this ISM, the services PMI came through above forecast.
It did.
So we're getting some mixed data. So definitely watch over the next couple of days with these indices, because a lot of them on these corrections, they're really starting to settle, you know, uh, at some decent levels. So it's gonna be that's gonna be interesting to watch to see how these play out
You thinking
across
potentially some longer moves back to the upside?
I don't know. It's hard for me to tell right now. I'm just proceeding with a whole lot of caution because
Yeah.
I think everybody, coming through the weekend, once they got their head wrapped around, like, okay, this is the unwinding carry trades and things like that, that the sky is not the sky is not falling. Like, you know what I mean? Like that it's it sparked the panic. The VIX was up around 50%. Now it's down to what, 36, what we saw this morning.
Yeah.
So maybe at least, I mean, maybe we end up getting some sideways movement for a while. I don't know, as people continue to try to sort things out. But I don't know.
What do you
I
think
don't know.
about because we have the recession fears conversation coming back up?
Yeah,
It's
that's what
on the move.
yeah, and I think it kind of I think everybody because that kicked in, right? And but then I think when a lot of investors saw the services report data that came out yesterday, it kind of calmed things a little bit, just a
Okay.
little. I know we're still pre-market, so I'll be interested to see what the price action looks like today. But I know when I'm looking at that DXY, what is it? What is this? I mean, I get my currency.
Yeah, we're
It's
still
kind of
pushing back to the upside.
yeah, it's kind of steady and that what is that 102 and a quarter? It's a weekly support that is bounces almost. It's a double bottom pretty much, and we're back up to 103.1. Looking at it from the
Okay.
daily, looking at it from the daily. But
Yeah, I was looking for that weekly support that you were
yeah, I got what is that?
mentioning there.
Like around 10
Yeah.
because it
10,
broke below it
102,
102.25,
322.
102.25 off. It was a low candle from the past that was at exact 102.276. That's where that low candle was previous. Like so, if you move over to the left, right there, go back, right there. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So prices holding below 11. We got a rally. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like you say, maybe a rally up and then a move back down. But definitely, it is going to be interesting over the next several weeks
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're looking at data too for you know more data too that kind of gives us, hey, they're gonna cut these rates come September, right? So
Yeah.
what does that do for your stock market typically? You know what I mean? When you get those interest rate cuts and those borrowing costs, you know, lower,
I'm down.
become lower. So yeah, they come down. So yeah, it's just a lot of mixed data right now, man.
It is. And
So
and and then you add in the unemployment conversation, right?
yeah.
Um, does how that plays in and does that as it continues to move up. Um, it and we've been saying this for shit, 2.5 years. Like these are interesting times that we're seeing.
hmm
So it'll definitely be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, because I mean it's just weird right now because like I'm looking at all the indexes individually, right? Like I'm looking at the CAD index, and it made a hard drive, but now it's stalling right at a monthly level where it's previously one, two, three, four, 5 times it's been at this level. Looking at it on the
Mm,
daily, and now we're getting a rally this morning. So when you look at your CAD crosses across the board, like your Euro CAD's falling off, pound CAD's falling off, like you know what I mean?
yeah.
Pounds dumping off because of pound. Anytime, guys, you have like the pound. The UK has a huge financial services sector. So anytime you get risk off in the markets, oftentimes you're gonna see that pound decline. So just some things to think about. I know we're at the end of the session, so I ain't keep going. It's
No,
just
all good.
fascinating to watch it all play out. Since I got my eyes back on the chart. So
It is, man. It definitely is fascinating to see how it all goes. Definitely. Jeremy's still
looking for
looking
the
for the VIX to hit
hit
44 in the
44.
coming weeks.
Yeah, that's I mean, like it says high as 50. So it's just a lot of back and forth. So just I'm trying to pull it all together in my head after the initial reaction, just where we are technically versus fundamentally what the data is telling us. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Cool
So
deal.
we're either gonna get a reaction at these previous levels that have the market has a memory. So we're back at a lot of these key levels historically, technically across your indices. If you look at your daily, where some key, like they're all in the buy zone and they're starting to stall a bit. So it's either it's going to respect what's been there historically and it's going to rally, or we're gonna crash to some lows, right? With the back in the back of our mind that carry trade, people thinking it's only halfway finished. So I'm gonna continue to be patient, man, and sit here. I'm not trying to give money to the market. So,
I agree with
but
you, dude.
yep, that's all.
I agree with you. All right, team. Any questions before we wrap it up? No.
Oh,
All right. Cool deal. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session. We'll see how the market has moved since, and we'll see if there are any opportunities we can take advantage of. All right. Have a phenomenal day, everybody.